Hello friends, if you are looking for a presentation on risk management and you want to learn how to manage risk in different kind of projects and process, then you should watch this presentation of mine. So let's go and figure out how to perform risk management, and I'll tell you different risk management techniques in this presentation. Here we go. Risk. What is risk? Risk is a situation of exposure to danger. If you go and figure out the definition of risk and you type risk in Google, then the first answer you'll get is the same what I mentioned few seconds back to you. Now it happens on day-to-day basis in our personal and professional life that there are certain people or situation which we want to be in good shape, which we love to see growing, and there are certain situations and people whom we want to avoid because we think, oh, if we fall into such kind of situation or if we are with such kind of people which is not a favorable one for my growth, for my success, we need to avoid it. We tend to avoid it, and believe it or not, this is what is risk. And then today I'm not here to talk about risk, I'm here to talk about risk management. So today in this presentation we are going to talk about risk management, and I'll tell you the 5 different techniques which are used for risk management. In front of you, you can see there is a presentation pic which talks about 5 different points. First, risk identification. Second, risk impact assessment. Third, risk prioritization analysis. Fourth, risk mitigation planning, implementation and process monitoring. And then in all of these 4 processes, something which is common, that is risk tracking. These are the 5 different techniques which are being used for risk management. When I say risk management, it is all about managing the risk which is seen, foreseen, or maybe a projected risk. Now, let's take an example of a project where you have a group of resources working with you. You are a lead or you are a manager and you have certain resources working with you, and you have a deadline and you have to complete a project. You have to give the deliverables, you have to sign off before that release date, and it has to be the system of the service has to be rolled out to the production or to the customers on a given date. But all of a sudden you see certain kind of risks, such as few of your developers, any of your developer, they are not well, they met with an accident and they cannot do. The main guy who was developing the tool or the service, he met with an accident and then he couldn't pursue the work which he was doing. Or let's say there was a budget cut, or maybe a guy, he left his job and he's moving out and you cannot help it. Or let's say you have a management change, and then whatever was the previous date, let's say you were given 6 months of time to complete a project, and all of a sudden there was a new change in management, and then they asked you to complete a project within 4 months or 5 months. So all the schedules, all the planning what you did by keeping 6-month timeline in your mind, it has changed, it's no more valid. Or let's say sometimes it is not always negativity when it is involved, when it is involving some kind of risk. There could be some positive scenarios as well. Let's say you have 8 or 10 member team and you have a budget of $1 million and you have to complete a project in 6 months of time, and then all of a sudden there was a new management decision being taken, or there was some political scenario changes, economical changes, because of which the implementation has to be done within 3 months instead of 6 months. So all of a sudden your budget is increased by 2. So instead of $1 million, you're getting $2 million, and then instead of 10 people, you can have 20 people working on the same project, but timeline instead of 6 months has been reduced to 3 months. Now this is known as a positive risk, and here also you have to do the risk management, and then the complete process of managing, may it be positive or negative risk, You have to figure out a different way to handle those kind of seen for and unseen different kind of risk and risk-based situations, and need to handle them, need to tackle them in such a way so that you always come out with a successful outcome and scenarios. So let's talk about risk management techniques. Till now what were we talking, it was mostly the risk management, what is risk management and different kind of situations. Now let's dig deeper into the risk management techniques. The first technique is risk identification. So you have to identify risk, and this comes with experience, or this comes with a kind of metrics. For example, you have a project and you can project you have a project and you can predict the timelines, you have the number of resources, you know what is the pace going on and how many people are working and how many items are being completed. So depending on that, you can have a flow diagram, or you can have a process diagram, or you can have a process bar through which you can figure out, okay, in 1 week this many people working 8 hours a day, they can complete this much of task, and then I have total number of tasks, this is the total number of people working days, and whether you can complete the work or not. This is a ballpark estimation. This is something which is on high level. I'm saying these are the few metrics and data sheets. They help you to identify risk event and their relationships, so you can figure out the risk event and how they are related to the other things, like it can be man, material, situation, or maybe any other form of relationship. There could be different kind of stakeholders involved, and what is the relationship and what is the intensity it is with which it can have impact on you, which we'll see in the second technique, which is known as risk impact assessment. So once you have identified all the risk, you have to figure out all those dependencies which may or may not somehow hamper your growth or success of the project. So they are identified as risk, and you have to identify all possible risk. After that, you have to assess the probability and consequences. If in what situation it can happen, what are the chances, what are the likelihood that such kind of risk may come true, may happen to you, or what could be the impact which would lead to such kind of risk, or if such risk happen, what would be the impact. You have to keep on thinking on those lines. So when we say risk impact assessment, it is all about probabilities and consequences of risk event, and they are assessed. Consequences may include cost, schedule, technical performance impacts, as well as the capability or functional capability. So as I mentioned, there are so many factors involved. We are just talking in terms of project dependencies. So there could be cost, schedule, technical performance, or capability or functional capability, or business related functionality. There are so many things in which some or the other way a risk can happen, and there's a kind of relationship, and there are chances which may go wrong against you, which will end up into having different kind of risk being faced by you. Then the third technique or the third process in risk management is risk prioritization analysis. Once you have the risk identified and you know what is the impact, you have accessed the impact, then you have to access the risk criticality. You have to figure out, you have to prioritize the risk. Okay, the decision analytic rules are applied to risk for rank ordering and identifying the events most to least critical. So for example, let's say if there is a business regulation coming place, so and because of that business regulation, whole of, let's say, tax identification number is mandatory for all bank accounts. Now there might be certain banks which may or may not be following because it was not a mandatory, but after the budget session or the new government rule is coming in place, after that tax identification number has to be attached with each and every bank account. Now this is such a big impact, and because of this, many customers, they may have a different kind of issues. So bank, they have to identify, they have to prioritize, okay, this is the requirement, and this requirement may end up into what kind of situation wherein people, they may end up closing their bank account because they don't want to give tax, they don't want to disclose that it's not a taxable income. People might be into some other country, or they are paying taxes in two places. What will happen for them? So there are so many different risks which have been identified, different situations, different stakeholders, they have been identified and accessed, and depending on those analysis, risks are prioritized, and prioritization is done from the highest or the most critical to the least critical. So something which is of high impact and it is going to impact a lot of business users, then it is of highest criticality. And something which is going to impact little and it's not going to hurt a lot and it can be managed, or even if it happens, it's not causing a great problem, monetary or social or image related issues, then okay, maybe if we have enough resources, we'll think about handling this resource, or even if it is there, we may somehow handle it. So that is known as risk prioritization analysis. After that, the fourth technique is risk mitigation. Risk events assessed as medium or high criticality might go into risk mitigation planning and implementation. Low critical risk might be tracked and monitored on watch list. So once you have identified the risk, you know the impact and you have assessed their impact, and then you know what is the priority and criticality of the risk. Depending on that, the most critical or the high critical thing, they have to have a risk mitigation plan. And for rest of them, which are medium and low priority, for them you can just keep on monitoring, and depending upon your bandwidth, your resource, your budget, you can keep a track of it. You can monitor the progress, and if at all you think okay, there are chances it may grow into a big one, you can handle it, or else you can leave it as it is, and depending upon your budget, schedule and timing, you can handle it in future as and when you get a chance. Risk mitigation is something, once you have a problem, let's say you have a situation that is situation A and you want to handle it. Okay, if everything goes right, this is what we'll do. This is our situation A. Let's say something goes wrong, then what are we going to do in order to meet our target? Then you have a plan B. That is known as risk mitigation. And people who are smart enough, they don't have only plan B, they do have plan C. So if best case scenario, if everything is going good, then plan A. Something goes wrong, plan B. And worst case scenario, when anything is not going right, everything is going wrong, then we have plan C. So this is known as risk mitigation. And the last is risk tracking. So may it be anything: identification of risk impact analysis, risk prioritization analysis, or risk mitigation planning, monitoring and implementation. Everywhere you have to have a track of different kind of risk, because it doesn't take long for a smaller risk or a low priority risk to go through certain changes, and after some point of time, if it is not being handled at right time, you'll see after some point of time it will become a medium or high priority risk, or a medium priority risk will become a high priority risk if it is not being handled at right point or right time. So you have to have a track of different kind of risk. What are they impacting? Who is getting impacted? What would be the loss? And then how critical and how prior it is, what is the priority and what is the criticality, and then you keep on handling it. The topmost priority or the highest priority items, they are to be handled, they are to be managed, they are to be mitigated, there has to be a risk mitigation plan, implementation plan, and then monitoring and tracking is being done on regular basis. Once those risks are handled, then you keep on working on the other low priority item next in line, and you keep on working on them. But you have to be very much sure that you keep on tracking all the risks. You have a watch listed risk where you keep a track of risk with their priority and their status, and this is the way you get to know, okay, which risk is growing big and which risk which have been handled or something which you are taking care of, it is going down. So in this way you can handle different kind of risk and avoid any big failures or any downfalls in future, may it be in terms of personal or professional life. Thanks a lot guys for watching my video, and if you like it, please feel free to subscribe, like and share. I need your support. Please do share it with your friends and subscribe my channel for more videos on such kind of topics. Thank you. I appreciate your help. Thanks a lot. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.